Okay. I think I'm back. Give me a thumbs up if you're here and you're back and I'm back and who knows who's back. Oh boy, that's fun. All right, let's see. Let me see if I can. All right. So, had a little technical difficulty. I'm not sure why it was broadcasting to the wrong group. So, I apologize for that. So, for those of you that are here, give me a thumbs up that yes, we're in the right spot. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. That was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay. Thank you, Vicky. So, whoever told me that I was in the wrong spot, I so appreciate that. Oh my gosh, I love technology. Love it. Love, love, love it. So what I would love for you guys to do now that I'm in the right group, pop into the comments and tell me yes or no. Do you struggle with choosing an all over design or custom, or are you pretty much good with that? So let me know in the comments if you struggle with what to quilt on your quilts, because that is my jam. I freaking love, love, love that. So before we jump in, because I'm sure some of you have already seen, I again apologize for being late. Started broadcasting in the wrong group. And thank you to the person who pointed it out to me. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to give it just 1 second. I'm looking for something on here. And again, it's lovely tech stuff. So just give me a second. Okay. I think. Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. So I'm all good now and we are ready to rock and roll. So it doesn't appear that any of you have any issues choosing all over or custom designs. At least you didn't put in the comments. Don't be shy. Pop over into the comments and let me know what you're thinking. Why did you pop in today? Because I'm sure it's not just to see my smiling little face. All right, so I am going to, hi from Switzerland. Hi, Doug, how are you? All right, so I'm going to, you absolutely struggle with what to quilt wear. All right, well, today we're just gonna be discussing, like, when you look at a quilt, whether you're going to do custom or all over. And I'm going to basically tell you how I decide. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only way, but this is how I decide whether I'm going to put all over or custom on it. So we're going to talk a little bit about thread color and how to choose, or how I choose my thread. And again, this is the first Facebook Live of 3. Tomorrow we're here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Wednesday, I think it's 3:30 Eastern Time. And tomorrow we're going to be going over 3 very simple quilting motifs that you can do on your quilts. And then on Wednesday, Kim, stay tuned, because this kind of leads into a little bit more maybe of what you're talking about, is that this is going to be, Wednesday's going to be, you've got a quilt. We're going to put in some of those 3 quilting motifs that we went over, where, how to use them, all of that stuff. So for those of you that don't know, the Academy is still open for enrollment. It closes on Wednesday night, and this is where we do a deep dive into what to quilt on your quilts. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's move over to my presentation. Let's go back. All right. All right, so we're gonna go back to the beginning. Okay, so some of you have already seen this. So this particular quilt, I love. I love the movement that it has, all of it. It's just really, really nice. So one of the things, is that the fabrics in it are a little busy, okay? So when it's busy, you could spend a whole heck of a lot of time putting in all of these great motifs and all of this great quilting, but it's really not going to show. All right. So I would lean towards an all over design for this particular quilt. Now, when I say that, there's a, like, if I had something specific I wanted to practice, then I would say, okay, a busy quilt might be a really good way to, go ahead and practice some quilting motifs. So like, let's look at this. And I could say, I'm going to practice my fills, and I'm just going to echo quilt each of those shell shaped, and I'm going to put a different fill in each one. So that's something that you can do as well. So if for some reason I was pretty much set on doing custom work, then this is something that I might do. Okay. So I'm going to just see if I can't get that a little bit bigger. No, it's not working. Okay. Never mind then. So I would follow that shell shaped. Okay. And it'll give the quilt a lot of movement if you do those wavy lines. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There's starting and stopping if that's the route that you choose to go, because you can't navigate on your machine that whole thing unless you're on a domestic machine. Okay. So for the long arm, there would be starting and stopping a lot on that particular design. But what I would do is I would do kind of group. I'd do 2, 2, and 2, and I would do wavy lines in one, and then I would do something curvy and fun in another, like feathers or ferns or flowers or something like that. You'll notice also that I have some straight lines in there, and that's just going to texturize it. Now, I wouldn't probably do the wavy lines and the straight lines, not that it would look bad, but I put the straight lines in there because you could navigate that on the bed of your machine without a lot of stops and starts. So that's why I wanted to show that. So again, this particular quilt, I would really kind of lean more towards an all over design. I know, Vicki, that it does look good. Yeah. And it gives it both, but I would definitely lean towards an all over design for this particular one. This quilt, again, while there's not a lot going on, the areas that, let me think about how I want to say this. The hand-dyed areas are the areas that you could possibly do things in that will show, right? So you have all of that black, but let's say I'm going to quilt in that black and I want to use something that's going to show. I feel that it would distract from the hand-dyed fabrics and all of that. So I, again, would probably lean towards an all-over design on this particular one. If for some reason I did want to quilt in that black, I would choose like a dark gray. Don't go with black, you won't see it, but like a dark gray. But again, as far as thread color, I'm going to lay all of my thread out and choose the one that I can see equally on everything, because I don't want that thread to play hide and seek. And I think I said it on the previous page where I started to broadcast to, is that I don't like my thread to play hide and seek. So it's one of the reasons why I don't use variegated threads. So I was going to show you guys what kind of custom I would do here, but I couldn't draw it so that you could see it. So I just opted not to show you. It was too hard. But if I could find my chalk pencil, it's lost somewhere in my studio. If I find it, I will post it up on the page for you guys to see kind of what I was playing around with. So Vicki had a question: would loading that wavy one sideways help any? You're still going to have some starts and stops just because of how long it is. So it would minimize, yes, the starts and stops, Vicki. It would. Okay, this one I absolutely love. Love, love, love. And I'm sure everybody's like, of course, Lisa, it's right up your alley with a whole lot of open space. And you are so right. I absolutely love this. Again, you could choose to do an all-over design, but I think this particular quilt would really benefit from um, some custom work. So this is kind of what I was playing around with. You'll see I've got the ribbon candy in there, in a lot of the white area, and then all of that other, the bigger white area, you could just do some really, really fun stuff in that to really showcase your quilting. So you could do ferns, flowers, I mean, really just about anything. And I'm going to actually be using this particular quilt on Friday. I'm sorry, on Wednesday to show you kind of what I would do in all of that open space. So hopefully you guys will be able to make it on Wednesday. If not, don't worry, I am recording it. So fear not, but I love this. This would definitely be an all over design. When I'm choosing all over custom, oh my gosh, really people, it's only Monday and I'm already losing it. Is anybody else? Oh, I really don't like Mondays. Maybe Mondays should just be like my pajama day and I shouldn't work. What do you think? Give me a thumbs up if you think pajama day on Monday is a good idea. All right, so again, when I'm choosing thread color for this, especially for that background, one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to have something that's so matchy, right? You won't get the definition that you're looking for. Okay, so go one shade lighter or one shade darker. So looking at this particular quilt, you've got the blues and the greens in there. So you could actually, I wouldn't choose a dark color, that's just my personal preference, but you could, if you wanted to, choose like a very light blue. And I would go very light for me personally, but it's going to give you a lot more definition in your quilting than if you choose something that matches perfectly. Okay, so again, this is one that we're going to be using on Wednesday, and I'm going to show you guys some designs in that outer white area. I know, good job, Joanne. Pajama day is any day. Yes, and it's so funny because literally right before I hopped on here, Amazon delivered my loungewear. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's like nice knit pants and a knit jacket and a knit tank top. So I'm pretty excited about it. So maybe it's going to be my loungewear day. Yeah, Vicky, this is a beautiful quilt. I really like this one as well. Okay, so here we on to the next one. This one, Nancy, well, you're not too late because Nancy says she had a problem with the Facebook loading the video. Not too late because I was a little late. I was having some mental tech issues. I was on the wrong page, so no worries. We're all here now. Okay, so this is obviously a panel quilt. And again, like when I look at these, I try and like in my head, since I used to work with customers, is I would try and persuade them to do an all over design because a whole lot is not going to show, right? You've got busy bird fabric, busy border fabric. And just because, just because they're paying me, I'm like, look, you're going to get just as much bang for your buck as you do with the custom. So again, this would be something that I would really try and opt for an all over design. Yay, Anissa, you found us. I'm so glad. So I'm going to show you just a couple ideas. The bird panel, you would use it for practice. Yeah. So the bird panel, I would probably cross hatch because again, I'm just looking to texturize that and hold it down. Each of the blocks I would choose and I would treat differently, right? So you've got the present there, then you've got the star. And so I would treat each of those blocks differently. The green around it, because I've already done the cross hatching, you can just do a meander in there. That would look pretty. You could actually do like a holly leaf meander. That would look really pretty as well. You could really just opt to, you've got to do something in it because I think some of those areas are relatively large. So I would have to do something, and I probably honestly would lean more towards just a small meander, just to kind of tack it down and push it into the background, because you would want everything else to pop up. So Vicky says she would echo the birds, probably with the embroidery machine and the camera. You think you got lazy. So, I'm going to go backwards for just a second. The only thing with echoing the birds are like really kind of on the green. So Vicky, are you thinking that you would just echo through the leaves, or would you only echo the part of the birds in the black? So Susan, for the thread color for crossing over the birds, I would have to pull out my thread and kind of see. I might lean towards, somebody suggested a monopoly. That would be a good one to do. But I would have to look to see, it probably would end up being some sort of a gray. That would kind of be my thought process on that one. Yeah. Again, I would have to lay everything out to see, Susan, which is going to be the best route to go. All right. So love, love, love. I'm in love with this fabric. I don't know what it is about it, but as soon as I see it, it just makes me smile, right? So again, there's a lot going on here. You've got like the stripes and, the flowers. And I mean, again, not a lot is going to be seen here. So yes, Joanne, you're right. A thinner thread over the birds and the cross hatching, yeah, would be really, really good. Okay, so nothing too thick. Your 40 weight might be too much. So 60 weight and above would probably be a very good, a good thing. Thank you, Joanne, for pointing that out. So again, there's a lot going out. Yes, Vicky, the colors in this, they totally speak to me. Absolutely love it. This is a great, great quilt to do all over design, okay? Because again, you're not gonna see a whole heck of a lot of the quilting. Now, this would be a great quilt to practice your cross hatching. You can cross hatch each of those blocks, and that would be awesome, right? Leave the sashing alone, and then if you wanted to practice your straight line quilting in the setting triangles, your piano keys, all of that, this is a great quilt to actually do that. So you could do some really, really good texturizing. But again, not a whole lot is going to show unless you use like a black thread, and even then it might not. So throw it up in the chat. Would you do all over or custom on this? I would opt to lean towards, again, an all over, unless I had something specific in practicing on my custom for this one. Alrighty, so again, love this one. I love this, just the scrappy kind of look. For those of you that know me, I'm probably the worst person for scrap quilts. I absolutely love how they look, but when I go to put them together, I start trying to pulling things out and matching, right? And so, so I'm not very good at it, but I like this one. I think I might have to figure out how to make this. Not that I have a ton of scraps, but anyway, I digress. So again, this one is perfect for an all over design. I would do something probably florally on this, because you've got such a small amount of white space that where you're really going to see something. So I'm leaning towards, as far as thread color, maybe like a lavender or a pink in this particular one. Again, I would have to lay them all out to figure out which shade, but I want something that you can do equally, that you actually see equally on all of the fabric, because I do not want my stuff to play hide and seek. So edge to edge fusion is great for a quilt like that. Really works well with the blocks that are on point. Yeah. Okay, so again, I would do an all over on this particular quilt as well. So, Okay, this one came up in Tribe, right? So for those of you that are in Tribe, you already know that I came up with some funky stuff for this particular quilt. So this again would be a great all over design quilt. But I decided to push myself outside of my comfort zone and say, okay, well, how would I custom quilt this, right? So just real quick, Linda, I don't use variegated threads very often. In fact, I don't even know how many spools of it I have. And the reason I don't is because when I'm putting something on my quilt, I don't want that thread to play hide and seek, right? So inevitably in a variegated thread, there's going to be, a color that disappears in certain fabric. And I don't particularly like that look. So if I'm going to use a variegated thread, I'm using it on a solid color so that you can see all of the colors of that variegated thread. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so back to I'm not even sure what triangle kind of quilt this is, but let's see how I would quilt it custom. So I found when I really looked at it that there was this petal type shape to it, right? And I'm going to go back to the other one because you kind of have to look hard. It's right, and I'm pointing at my screen like I think you guys can see me. But where all of the triangles come together, it creates like almost like a semi-flower shape. So yeah. Well, that's a good way to go. I mean, I don't know why the customers really like the variegated thread. I don't understand that. But yeah, that's a good way to go. So Linda says when she's auditioning, she picks a variegated thread that has none of the colors in the quilt. So I would love to see a picture of that, Linda, if you have one. So if so, pop it up onto the Facebook page for me. I would love to see that. Okay, so again, so I found that shape. So this is kind of what I came up with. So it depends on how long you wanted to spend quilting this as far as custom, but you could do like the flower shape that's up in the left-hand corner. You could play around with your fills and echo quilt and put some pebbles in, swirls, leaves, loops. So I gave a couple different ways that you could kind of quilt this. But again, like it was so outside of the box for me. And then all of the areas that are right around that petal shape, I would fill in, which would help the petals pop out, right? But again, I'm just going to go back to saying like this is another example of one. Now I could spend all my time doing this custom quilting, but you may or may not see it, right? So there's that. Okay. So Anissa, she sees hexagons on this quilt as well as the flower shape. Yeah. So when I first viewed it, it was so triangle heavy to me that I really struggled. And that's what led me to go, oh, and all over. But I love the flower shape. Straight lines in the same direction in same color. Yep, you could do that as well, Marlene. That's a really good suggestion too. So yeah, but so this was a fun quilt because it kind of definitely took me outside of my comfort zone. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that person quilts that. Alrighty, so I'm not a huge panel person, never have been, but this one, again, like there's that border fabric is so busy that you're not going to see a whole lot, right? If I was going to do anything, I might do just an all over design in the border. And then in the smaller border, I might cross hatch. When you come to the center, you've got your blue and your red. You could do, I'd probably do something leafy just to kind of fit in with that theme. And then in the center panel, there's a couple options. We could cross hatch, and I'm a big fan of that just because there's so much going on. Or you can go in and you can kind of highlight some of the leaves and also do kind of a swirly, leafy meander in that bluish background. So, but not a whole heck of a lot is going to show on all of the other areas. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? What would you do on this? Because you guys teach me as much as I teach you. So I view a quilt a certain way, but I would love to know, like, am I missing something? If I'm missing something, please, I mean, again, I learn as much from you guys as you do from me. Vicky, I wonder if you could use one triangle as a flower. It would be less confusing. Well, you know, Vicky, I thought about that, but if I go back, and I'm sorry for you guys, if we go back, I would feel like I would have to put some sort of circle, like there's no true intersection at the very center of the triangle, and I think that's what made me go to the more of the flower shape. So typically, Linda, I always cross hatch on an angle. I'm a 45-degree angle kind of girl. So I would do my cross hatching on the 45 for sure. Yes, that's Marlene, that's great. Marlene says swirls in the panel to look as wind sweeping in the leaves. Love that. That would be really, really pretty. Carolyn, let's see if I can find my little button. Hold on. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Okay. Carolyn would do light thread painting in the panel. Be careful, you might have to do more in the border to make it lay flat. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you have, you know, that you're evenly quilted, that you're not like heavy in the center and light on the outside, or it won't hang properly. That's a very good point, Carolyn. Love it. Joanne, it's not, oh, here we go. There's the button. Okay, now you can't, I don't even think you guys can see it. No. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to, let's see if that's better. No. Nope. Okay. So I thought I was going to be able to get it on there, and it's not looking right. So Joanne says she would definitely quilt the tree panel with an edge to edge, probably a design called modern. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. Yep. Vicky, that's a good idea. Like using some rulers in the triangles to keep that pointed frame. That would be really good as well. I like both of those. Great suggestions. Okay, so again, as far as thread color, you've got a whole bunch of thread colors that you can choose for this particular one because there's so much going on. Again, lay it all out and find something that's going to be shown equally on all of them. That would be perfect. And I think, let's see, that's definitely not the end. Okay, so this is, I believe, Janice's quilt. And I know everybody's like, oh yeah, again, this is right up my alley with all of that open space, right? So I'm not even going to suggest putting an all over design on this. However, you can put an all over design on anything, right? And it's going to look fine. But this particular quilt I look at and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would definitely do custom on this. It is just beautiful. So let's just take a peek at some of the things that you could do, right? So I'm a big stitch in the ditch girl. I would stitch in the ditch all of that piecework for sure. And then I gave a couple different options. One being that you can use the wide open space as the central focal point. right? And I gave the two suggestions there. One with the flower kind of feather shape with some swirls coming off of it. Then down closer to the bottom, echoing kind of on the inside of that to make it look squarish, and then feathering off of that oval kind of leaf type shape, right? So as I was playing with this, that's exactly like, I mean, all of a sudden I was seeing that circle as like a spine, and that's what kind of led me to do that. So then depending on that, excuse me, I love the idea of the curved crosshatch in the center if I'm doing that flowery shape. So which one do you guys lean towards as far as what do you see on it? Now, even if I do either of those two things on the interior, when I come to the exterior, I am a big fan of putting a fill towards the outside of my my quilt. I think it just helps frame it. So I think you can see two options there at the very top of the screen. One with the pebbling and one without. So again, it depends on how densely quilted you want your quilt, okay? But I loved this quilt and it definitely spoke to me. Loved it. So I can't wait to see what Janice does with it. Okay, so here is another quilt. This is so simply pieced, so beautiful. Okay, so hold on. Let me just go back because Linda says, I tried to create a larger shape like you often do in the white background. Yeah. Try and view the quilt as a whole versus individual pieces tends to help. Okay, so I love the Hunter Star. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, again, you could do an all over design, but this quilt would be greatly enhanced if you actually did some custom work on it. Now, for those of you, give me a thumbs up in the comments if you quilt for customers or if you just do this for yourself. But I always try to kind of like think both ways, right? So a lot of times customers, they're on a budget. And that's one of the reasons why, I mean, it's great that there's so many quilts that all over designs can go on. Okay, so if a customer came to me, I would have no problem putting an all over on this. But if a customer brought me Janice's quilt, the quilt before, I probably would be like, oh, I don't know. I think you're really gonna cheat yourself if you don't do custom on that. Okay, so, but this one could go either way. So here was my suggestion. I love the wishbone in the flying geese. That is just, something I love. I love the echoing, and then just trying to create something beautiful in the center of this. And that's, me, I love feathers. Feathers are my jam. So I know people are like, I don't like feathers. And I'm like, I kind of give them a sideways look. What do you mean you don't, you don't like feathers? But anyway, I do realize that not everybody likes feathers, but I love them. So I would pop in that circle behind and feather that. And then I think the straight lines would be great. And then the continuous curves. So this is kind of my thinking for this particular quilt. And I didn't, obviously do it all, but those are my ideas. Love it, Nancy. So glad you like feathers as well. So again, you could do an all over, but this is a really fun one to do some fun custom work on it. So, oh, I'm not sure where that went. So let's just see something. Oh, that was it. That was all my quilts I had for you guys. So let me just change my view here. Alrighty. So that is what I had for you. Hopefully you gained something from it. Obviously you realize I'm not a fan of variegated thread and I don't like it to play hide and seek. But what questions do you guys have for me? We can go back to a quilt. If you wanted to look at a quilt, just throw it up there in the comments. I am here for you for questions. So whatever you've got for me. Again, tomorrow we are doing 3 different quilting motifs. So I'm just going to be drawing them. So if you can make it at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I'd love to have you. Bring your sketch pad so you can, draw along with me. And then on Wednesday, I'll be going over those 3 quilting motifs, but we're going to be putting them into a quilt. Okay, so I'm going to pick that one quilt that I told you about, and then I'm going to probably choose 2 other quilts. I've got to look through some of my pictures to see what I've got, and we're going to be putting those motifs into those quilts. So, okay, so Carolyn's question is, have you ever used Glide 60 weight thread? So Carolyn, I have not used Glide 60 weight thread. I have used, I'm just trying to make it so you guys can actually see the questions that I pop up. So I have not used the 60 weight thread. I have used Superior's bottom line 60 weight. I really liked that. The one time that I used Glide, it was their 40 weight, and it wasn't, it gave it like a flat look. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, almost like the thread was flat, not round. Now I'm a total Aurifil girl, so I'm not sure about the Glide 60 weight. So pop over, Carolyn, into Tribe and see what the members have to say about the 60 weight. Do you use it? Do you not use it? Let me know. Okay. Nancy, what batting would you use for a baby quilt? So I'm a big fan of Quilter's Dream. I love their Poly Select. It's their mid-weight, and it really is kind of like my go-to for it. Now, I want to say that Quilter's Dream also makes a specific, I think it's called Dream. No. Oh, shoot. They make one specific. It's a flame retardant one for babies. And so that would probably be my first choice. If I didn't have that or couldn't get it, I would go with the Poly Select. But the flame retardant is nice because it's flame retardant, just like their baby's pajamas. So, all right. Let's see. Bernadette, how many motifs would you use in a quilt? So Bernadette, that's a really good question. I am, if I'm using feathers, typically I'm only using feathers. So when we talk quilting motifs, we're talking about the main motif, right? So feathers, ferns, flowers. I tend not to mix them unless, like, say my feathers, I stuck flowers in there, then I would be able to mix. I typically just stick with either feathers or flowers or ferns for most of my quilts, but that's just my preference. So, all right. Linda, well, that would explain it. So Linda says Glide thread is tri-lobal, it's 3 sizes. That would explain why I kind of got that strange vibe from the thread. So I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So a lot of you guys use Glide thread. Thank you. Is that so feathered? Is that what it's called? Quilter's Dream Angel? Is that what the batting is called? That for babies? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say, Carolyn, give it a try. I mean, you might want to use it in a practice piece before you, jump in and use it on a quilt. Make sure that you got the tension set right and all that. Dream Angel. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, So Feathered. That's how you come up on my comments. So, Well, what other questions? I didn't quite mean to take up this much of your time. I know we got started late because, again, I had a mental tech issue and was on the wrong page. Vicki, thank you for pointing that out. I owe you big time for that. Or I would have done the presentation. I'd be like, where is everybody? Why is Tammy? Thank you. I'm like, I know her. I know her. All right. So any other questions that you have for me? If not, I will release you to the world. All right. So give me a heck yeah if you're going to be here Tuesday and Wednesday for our lives. I would love to know that you guys are going to actually be here with me. I love doing these lives. So one last note, again, if you are somebody that struggles with what to put on your quilts, Quilters Groove Academy is enrolling until Wednesday night. And that is a deep, deep dive. And I know a couple of you are already in it, and that's fabulous. But it's a deep dive into design. I mean, it's a deep, deep dive. So it's a 12-week course, so much fun, weekly Zoom meetings. I think Vicky's been in it, Carolyn's in it. So it's a lot of fun. So if you want any more information about that, then you can hop over to lisahkaye.com and check out Quilters Groove Academy. So yep, Susan, yay, I'm so glad you loved it. Yeah, it actually is my favorite thing to teach. So classes start on Monday, the 21st. They're pre-recorded so that you can kind of learn at your own pace, and each week a new module drops. So I try not to overwhelm you. And then there's 2 weeks in there that are implementation weeks. So you can take a break, or you can, dive deep into what we've already gone over. So, yes, the weekly is on Wednesdays, Vicki. All right, so I'm going to let you all go off into the world and do your quilting. I am actually, believe it or not, I was quilting today, people. I'm quilting a Metro Rings quilt that was a wedding gift. It should have been done in September, but it'll get done. It will get done, but I'm quilting it, so that's the good thing. All right, everybody, have a fantastic day, and I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So bring your sketch pads, and we're going to be doing some drawing. All right, see you guys.